Hello learners, welcome to this NIOS studio. I am Dr. Manisha Wadhwa from Aditi Mahavidyalaya, University of Delhi. Today's topic of presentation is understanding environment and its role in development of children. For learning about this topic, let's first understand what is environment. Environment is world around us. It is starting from ourselves to the family and then moving to community and world around. It is both biotic and abiotic component of environment. It is both living and non-living things around us. If you close your eyes, you will visualize that everything which is around us constitute our environment. Environment word is derived from French word envire, which means to encircle or surround. Thus, all that surrounds us or the world around us constitute our environment. It includes the natural environment and socio-cultural environment. It has no limits. It is whole, continuous and indivisible. It is common to all living organisms, plants, animals and humans. To elaborate, what do we mean by continuous and indivisible? It means that world does not come into separate patches for children. Imagine a child who is born. For him or her, world is not divided into physics, chemistry, biology or geography, history, economics, but it is a continuous and indivisible process. And this environment is common for everybody, including plants, animals, all other microorganisms and humans. So, environment is a whole to everyone. The air, the water, rocks, plants, animals are as much part of environment as we human are. This is what we share with all living organisms. So, in a way, if I pollute my environment, then I am polluting it for all living beings, whether living on land, water or air. So, environment is very important to all of us, to all living beings to survive. Environment can be considered as a composite of different aspects. For humans, let's concentrate on humans in this particular topic. For humans, imagine a child in a class. For her, environment is her class environment is her school environment, family environment, community, state, nation, world. So, starting from the individual going to further away, it constitutes the environment. Now, in that environment, let's see different aspects of environment. Natural environment includes abiotic factors, which are non-living factors in the environment, which are air, water, soil, rocks and landforms. Then, natural environment also has biotic elements, which are plants, animals and microorganisms. I hope you know what microorganisms are. These are small invisible bacteria, viruses, these are constitute microorganisms. Then plants, animals, microorganisms, they are all interdependent on each other and they have their basic necessities like air, water and nutrients. These interdependencies lead to variety of interactions between organisms and their environment. The simplest example can be a simple food chain like snake is eating a rat, so snake is dependent on rat. Rat is eating grain, so rat is dependent on plants. So, animals and plants, they are all interdependent on each other and they all need air, water and nutrients to survive. Then we come to human made environment. The human made environment is what we have made. The world is as we see today, it was not like this 20 years earlier, which means we have done some changes to make it a more convenient place, to adjust to the rising population, to adjust to the rising traffic. So, we are changing this environment. This environment is human made environment. It is twisted by humans according to our own requirements. It includes roads, buildings, industries, dams and other structures which provides goods and services to humans. It is in a way to provide better facilities to human, but there are times when we are building dams or metro tracks or train tracks, then we are also harming environment. So, one has to see with caution that creating a human-made environment, are we disturbing our natural environment or not? Then comes the socio-cultural environment. Individual, family, community, religious, educational institutes, economical, political institution make our social environment. It is usually from the family that most key activities of society are carried out, and one learns to live as a member of society. For example, one individual is born in a particular family. The customs, traditions of that family becomes a social cultural environment of that individual. Culture is shaped by the natural environment and the interactions between individual in a community. Culture differs from community to community and society to society. Our cultural characteristics, like the food we eat, the clothes we wear, our traditions and norms, are shaped by our natural environment. For example, people living in eastern India, they eat more rice as compared to wheat. People living in North India, they eat more wheat as compared to the rice. So, this difference in food habits, what we eat, is also governed by our cultural practices. A family originally related to, let's say, northeast of India, if that family comes to Delhi, then probably they will like to have more rice because of their cultural characteristics or because of their family food habits. So, culture is important. Then comes the socio-cultural environment. The values, traditions, norms, customs, arts, history, folklore practiced and followed by communities of individuals make up the socio-cultural environment. In a nutshell, environment is everything that surrounds me, of which I am also a part. I cannot say that I live in isolation. No, all individuals, they live in communities, they live in societies, families, so their environment is integrated. Environment is defined as a complex of climatic, biotic, social and edaphic, which are edaphic is produced or influenced by soil factors, subsystems of the environment that act upon organism and determine its form and survival. It therefore includes everything that may directly affect the behavior of a living organism or species, including light, air, water, soil and other living beings. The subject matter of environment thus permeates all subjects and disciplines. It transcends all ages and stages of life. To elaborate on this, when I say that it permeates all subjects and discipline, I mean that environment is part of all subjects. For example, if I am taking an example of water, then in physics I am studying about physical properties of water. In chemistry, I am studying about bonding between hydrogen and oxygen. In biology, I am studying why water is essential for life. So, you can see that water, when it is studied in different subjects, have different aspects, but as a whole this is a concept of water. Similarly, if I read about water in geography, I may be reading about dams, I may be reading about hydroelectricity or irrigation facilities. If I am reading about water in history, probably I am reading about how different wars have fought for water, how kings living in palaces have capacity to store waters. So, a concept is studied from different perspectives, and in environment we combine everything and it is there as a whole. And it is very important also because children do not see world fragmented or compartmentalized into different subjects. They see the world around. For them it is a continuous process. The second point which I am trying to raise here is that it transcends all ages and stages of life. Environment is important at all ages, beginning from birth to young children to middle-aged person and to old people. For them it is important. It is important for all ages and at all stages of life. Remember, environment is not primary science. It is not only science, I should say. It is not only social science. Environment is not only environmental education. Environment is also not combination of science and social science. Environmental studies is combination of science, social science and environmental education. I can say that environment studies is combination or integration of science, social science and environmental education. Now coming to the learner in this environment. As learner grows up in it, learner learn from it. Learner is dependent on it. Learner also contributes to it and influences it, just as it influences us, everybody. This influence begins from the moment we are born and it continues throughout our life. The world of child begins with an awareness of its own body and gradually expands in ever widening circles to an exploration of the immediate surroundings, family and home, neighborhood, school and beyond. So imagine the child is born, environment is the family, from family to home, then to neighborhood. When he is 5 years old or she is 5 years old, she goes to school, then school also becomes part of the environment. After school, community also becomes part of the environment. After school, if she goes to college to some other state, then that state also becomes part of the environment. So gradually environment of the learner expands, starting from family, then to home, neighborhood, school, community and beyond. Learning takes place first and foremost in the home and the family. When children join school, learning continues to take place, not only in school but also at home and within the community. That is why when children they join school at the age of 5, they have so much information, they have so much knowledge about different kinds of phenomena happening in environment, different kinds of plants, trees are available in our environment. So children they don't join school as a blank slate, they already have knowledge of their environment because of their continuous interaction with the environment, because of their experience with the environment. The immediate environment is the primary context to which the child relates. It includes not just physical structures and outdoor spaces, but equally the social and cultural world of stories and songs, festivals and get-togethers, family and community celebrations and occasions. All these contribute to the learning of a learner in that environment. If a particular child is born in a particular culture, a child will hear stories of of that culture. So those will become a learning for that learner in that environment. Another child born in some other culture will definitely not have those stories or songs in that culture. So people are different because they are born in different cultures, their environment is different, their learning environment is different. So environment contributes to the learning of an individual. Valuable learning takes place through interactions with immediate environment. Every day, children experience the natural environments which are seasons, heat, rain, cold, the sky, sun and moon, the different aspects of water, plants and animal. So the immediate environment becomes the starting point of learning. Children, especially young children, have a natural desire to learn and to make sense of the world around them. It is critical that they are provided with environment that enables and support this learning. For example, you see when child comes to classroom, child has so many questions to ask and those questions come from their experience. So as a teacher, we should answer their questions. Some interesting questions which I can recall here, a 5-year-old child asked that banana does not have seeds. So how do we grow banana plant? And I was observing that class, the teacher was perplexed. She didn't know how to answer that question of, a question asked by class 1 children. So these questions come from their environment and that is why we say that learning starts from the environment. And as a teacher, we should give them an enabling environment. We should support them in their learning. NCF 2005 also said that that learning in early year must hence be directed by child's interests and priorities, should be contextualized by his or her experiences rather than being structured formally. It means that starting point of any learning begins from children's interest and priorities. A class of 50 students, all 50 students may have different interests and priorities. So, as an active teacher, you should group those students according to their interest and let them pursue their interest. For instance, or to elaborate further, I can say that let us say that 10 children, they are curious about plants. They can read, they can observe plants, they can record their observation about plants, they can ask questions about plants. Another 10 students may be interested in a post office near that school. So, they can explore that post office, they can visit the post office, they can see what kind of people are there, what kind of work those people are doing, or what kind of people come to post office, what is their job in that post office. Another 10 children may be interested in flowers, some other may be interested in animals. So, those children can observe animals, they can record about animals, they can ask questions about animals, they can talk to different people who have pets. So, in a way, if you do like this, you are starting their learning with their interest. So, in such situations, learning become meaningful and learning become interesting to the child. Secondly, it should be contextualized, which means that anything which is there in that context should be addressed. If a child is living in desert, maybe child is not aware of the concept of flood. So, learning has to be contextualized. If a child is living in a coastal area, child may not be familiar with desert. So, one has to start from their own context and then move to wider spaces. So, as a teacher, we have to see the context of children coming to my class, then only I can structure their learning. For example, if children from deprived background are coming to my class, first question I ask in the class that do you have milk in the morning? So, this is not a valid question, because probably these children do not have access to milk in the morning. Probably their family only buys half liter of milk only for tea. So, one has to see the context of children coming to the class. Going further, an enabling environment for children would be that is rich in stimulation and experiences that allows children to explore, experiment and freely express themselves, and one that is embedded in social relations that given them a sense of warmth, security and trust. To elaborate this, I am saying enabling environment, which means any environment which is supporting their learning. It is not contradicting learning, it is supporting their learning. Children, their learning should be supported by the teacher. Secondly, there should be stimulation for learning. There should be some activities which create interest of children. You have to, draw their attention to certain things which has happened or certain observations which they can see. For example, recently there was a lunar eclipse. So, if you are teaching class 5, then before the eclipse you can, guide children, create their interest, arouse their curiosity that what is an eclipse, what is this lunar eclipse, why all newspaper TV channels are talking about lunar eclipse, what is this red moon, blue moon, these were the kinds of words used for that eclipse. So, you have to arouse their curiosity and then also answer their curiosity and properly guide them how to go ahead in their learning, how they can proceed further, where to explore, what to explore, how to experiment, how to freely express themselves within the class, within the group, in the family. So, this enabling environment will support their learning, will encourage them to learn further. Perspective of environmental studies are interdisciplinary, which means environment is seen as coming from different subjects, different subject areas. Perspective of EVS is also thematic and integrated in the sense that there is one central theme and it is woven around that theme. It is central. Why central? Because we see concepts as they are. We do not see concepts in disciplines. For example, look at this chart, web chart. We call it as web chart, concept map. You can see that water is there in the center, which is the central theme. And there are different aspects of water which can be addressed. Like water, it is, water is used as life forms. Properties of water like solubility, whether things sink, whether things float. Then festivals and cultural practices, traditional water systems and mapping of water resources. These comes from the historical and geographical perspective. Access and distribution to water, discriminatory practices, that there are discrimination for water, then water pollution, conservation of water, these comes as environmental perspective, and then waterborne disease, which are from the health perspective. So, let us summarize today's class. 1. Environment is a complex and dynamic system. 2nd, environment includes natural, human-made, social cultural aspects. 3rd, the subject matter of environment permeates all subjects and disciplines. Next, the environment provides the primary context for a child's learning. Next, the child need to be given adequate opportunities to interact with their local environment and to build their understanding based on those interactions and experiences. Only opportunities given by children will help students to learn in that environment. Thank you.
पच्चीस साल का लंबा सफर और लाखों लोगों के चेहरों पर खिलती मुस्कान, गर्व और गरिमा से जीने की प्रेरणा देती मुस्कान, आत्मसम्मान और विश्वास से पैदा हुई मुस्कान। इन खिलते चेहरों पर ये मुस्कान आई है शिक्षा के जरिए। ये मुस्कान आई है नेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ ओपन स्कूलिंग यानी NIOS के जरिए। नेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ ओपन स्कूलिंग या राष्ट्रीय मुक्त विद्यालयी शिक्षा संस्थान, इस संस्थान का एक बड़ा उद्देश्य है आम आदमियों के जीवन को बेहतर बनाना। ऐसे लोग जिनके लिए शिक्षा एक दूर का सपना है या वे बच्चे जो परिवार की रोजी रोटी कमाने के लिए बीच में ही स्कूल छोड़ने पर मजबूर हो जाते हैं। NIOS ऐसे बच्चों और बड़ों को दोबारा शिक्षा से जुड़ने का मौका मुहैया कराता है ताकि वे एक बेहतर जीवन जी सकें। 1989 में स्थापना के बाद NIOS ने देश के लाखों बच्चों और वयस्कों को बेहतर शिक्षा से जोड़ा है। इनमें हर उम्र, हर पृष्ठभूमि, हर जाति, हर मजहब और हर क्षेत्र के लड़के लड़कियां, महिलाएं और पुरुष शामिल हैं। बढ़ई से लेकर पायलट, डॉक्टर, इंजीनियर, बेकर और दर्जी तक NIOS कोशिश कर रहा है सबको शिक्षित और सशक्त बनाने की, चाहे वो असम के दूर दराज इलाके में रहने वाला हो या फिर मुंबई जैसे महानगर का। NIOS ने अपनी मौजूदगी हर जगह दर्ज कराई है। NIOS ने शिक्षा की परंपरागत सोच को ही बदल दिया है। वो पढ़िए जो हम पढ़ाते हैं की जगह NIOS की नई सोच है, हम वो पढ़ाते हैं जो आप पढ़ना चाहते हैं। इस नई सोच ने लोगों को आगे बढ़ने और NIOS के साथ जुड़ने के लिए प्रोत्साहित किया है। शिक्षा उपलब्ध कराने के मामले में NIOS किसी सीमा को नहीं मानता, उम्र की सीमा को भी नहीं। चंडीगढ़ के गणेश के लिए भी NIOS एक वरदान साबित हुआ। NIOS शारीरिक रूप से अक्षम बच्चों को भी बेहतर शिक्षा मुहैया कराने के लिए पूरी तरह प्रतिबद्ध है। ऐसे बच्चों के लिए शिक्षा न केवल रोजगार के द्वार खोलती है, बल्कि उन्हें आत्मविश्वास और गर्व के साथ जीना भी सिखाती है। NIOS खेल के इन सितारों को उनकी सुविधा और समय के अनुसार बेहतर शिक्षा उपलब्ध कराता है। मेरी कॉम, सोमदेव देववर्मन, देविका रेबेका पल्लिकल, अरमान इब्राहिम, प्रद्युमन प्रकाश और अमयजोत सिंह। NIOS सीमा पर खड़े उन प्रहरियों को भी शिक्षा से लाभान्वित करता है जो देश की सुरक्षा के लिए अपनी जान की बाजी लगाने से भी नहीं चूकते। सच तो ये है कि NIOS की पहुंच हर ओर रहती है, चाहे वो दूर दराज के आदिवासी हो या जेल की कोठरी में बंद कैदी या फिर ग्रामीण और शहरी क्षेत्रों के गरीब निवासी। देश में कहीं भी कोई भी व्यक्ति, स्त्री, पुरुष, लड़का, लड़की, अमीर, गरीब शिक्षा से वंचित न रहे। राष्ट्रीय मुक्त विद्यालयी शिक्षा संस्थान का यही मिशन है।
राष्ट्रीय मुक्त विद्यालयी शिक्षा संस्थान पूरे देश में शिक्षा के साथ साथ कौशल विकास के क्षेत्र में बहुत सारे कोर्सेज दे रहा है। लगभग 100 से ज़्यादा कोर्सेज हैं। हम दूर दराज के गांव में अपने संस्थान बनाते हैं और वहाँ के बच्चों को, वहाँ के बच्चियों को, वहाँ के वयस्कों को हुनर के क्षेत्र में शिक्षा पहुँचाते हैं। आपको जानकर खुशी होगी कि अब हम आर्ट, साइंस, कॉमर्स जिन क्षेत्रों में 12वीं का सर्टिफिकेट दिया जाता रहा है, अब हम हुनर के क्षेत्र में, वोकेशनल एरिया में भी 10वीं और 12वीं का सर्टिफिकेशन करेंगे। तो वो बच्चे जो कृषि से जुड़े हुए हैं, कारपेंट्री से जुड़े हुए हैं या दूसरे क्षेत्रों से जुड़े हुए हैं, वो अपने ही क्षेत्र में काम करेंगे, सीखेंगे, हुनर पैदा करेंगे अपने में और सर्टिफाइड भी होंगे कि वो सर्टिफाइड कृषक हैं, खेतिहर हैं। तो आज तक जो हमारे देश में ये सोच रही है कि आप 12वीं पास तभी कहे जाएंगे जब भूगोल, अर्थशास्त्र, भौतिकी ये पढ़ेंगे, अब ये समय बदल गया है। ITI में जितने बच्चे पढ़ते हैं, लगभग 18 लाख बच्चे हर साल दाखिला लेते हैं। अब हम उनको सर्टिफिकेशन करेंगे।
NIOS अपने छात्रों को माध्यमिक स्तर पर 26 और उच्च माध्यमिक स्तर पर 19 विषयों का विकल्प देता है। पढ़ाई किस माध्यम से करनी है, इसमें भी आपको लचीलापन मिलेगा। माध्यमिक स्तर पर ही 7 भाषाओं के अलग अलग माध्यमों का विकल्प मौजूद है। शैक्षणिक कार्यक्रमों के अलावा 86 वोकेशनल शिक्षा कार्यक्रम भी उपलब्ध हैं, जो छात्रों को कामकाजी दुनिया के लिए तैयार करते हैं। वोकेशनल प्रशिक्षण को अधिक सुदृढ़ बनाने के लिए NIOS ने ITDC, सिस्को, इंडियन मेडिकल एसोसिएशन जैसे कई सरकारी और गैर सरकारी संस्थानों के साथ भागीदारी स्थापित की है। आज लाखों छात्रों के लिए अपनी पसंद का स्कूल है राष्ट्रीय मुक्त विद्यालयी शिक्षा संस्थान यानी नेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ ओपन स्कूलिंग। NIOS ने एक लंबा सफर तय किया है, लेकिन मंजिल अभी दूर है। निरंतर विकास और नवीनीकरण के लिए NIOS सदैव प्रतिबद्ध है। शिक्षा का उद्देश्य महज रोजगार जुटाना ही नहीं है, बल्कि स्वयं को सशक्त बनाना भी है। NIOS लाखों छात्रों के लिए यही आत्मसम्मान दिलाने में जुटा है। लाखों लोगों के लिए एक आशा और उम्मीद है। नेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ ओपन स्कूलिंग। शिक्षा सबके लिए, कहीं भी, कभी भी।